Hi, everybody. I guess happy Sunday and welcome to our live stream for release version 5.2. This will be, I think, my first release stream on the latest version of Foundry, so kind of neat. We did manage to get everything out pretty quickly, but this will be the first revision where we've got some pretty cool player-facing changes. Nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering, just some cool stuff that we've added into the system, and we hope that you'll like. I know at least one of them I wish I kind of would have had for the Agents of Edgewatch game, because we had an Oracle. But why don't we hop right in and see what cool stuff there is in store. I'm assuming that everyone can actually hear me, because nobody said, hey, I can't hear you yet. And I did remember to go through and set all the actual things in OBS that keep changing whenever I reboot the computer. So wonderful. So why don't we begin with some of the cool stuff that we have added in? First of all, I will mention that this is our master edition. When we're finished with the 5.2 series, and expect 5.2.2 shortly, there's a couple of fixes that we put in for the stream, particularly around the Oracle curses that we're still trying to make exactly right. But 5.2, this series and these bug fixes will be the end of what we'll call the master edition, because we've got GenCon and Rage of Elements coming up, and those are where we're going to start using remaster rules. Because people have been asking, I'll be perfectly clear, we're going to treat the remaster as much as we can like an errata. So that means that if you do not want all of this stuff in your system, then this is where you're stopping. This is the off-ramp for you if you don't want any of the remastered content. If you do want the remastered content, if you want the Kineticist and the changes that are going to start rolling out, then that's exactly what's going to be coming, starting with our next release, whatever we number and title that one. So fair warning, that's what's coming. Yes, because it was confusing, we are still going to be releasing things. We are still planning to release day and date. So on the 3rd of August, expect the Kineticist ready to go. I can't promise that everything will be automated, but I will let you know data entry wise, everything is in other than the items and NPCs from the book. That's all that are really left to do on our end, which is kind of nice because we got the book a little bit early. So we still have another 2-ish weeks to try and get stuff tuned up and ready to go. We'll see how much we can get automated. Can't do absolutely everything, but we'll do our best. So let's start off with some of the cool stuff. First, we have a brand new rule element for item alteration. This is important for someone here like Sela. So Sela, you'll notice, no longer has the effect for the shield ally. Instead, it's built right into the shield ally itself. So if we go here and look at our rules, you can see that items, the hardness and the hit points get altered. This isn't fully documented yet, so you'll have to sort of look and see what we've done. But you can see, yeah, her shield. We go to her inventory. It's a sturdy shield, minor one. So it has hardness 8, hit point 64. Instead, thanks to the alteration rule elements, we've got hardness 10, and the hit points are all the way up to 96, so 1.5 times exactly what it's supposed to do. So that all now works. You can swap shields, and it will just literally work. That's what this new rule element is for. So kind of cool. On Fumbus, I also gave Fumbus a sapling shield. Now the sapling shield is a shield that does the same thing. So adds when you envision, you can spend an action to increase the hardness and increase the threshold. And so this is just a toggleable option. So you can see AC goes up, hardness goes up. So yet another example of how this particular rule element works. We have also added Encumbrance finally. It is defaulting to off because, again, it's a new feature. We don't want to spring it on top of people. We haven't worked out all of the bugs yet. But if you go into your system settings under automation, you'll now see Encumbrance. So it defaults off. I've turned it on, so I didn't forget for this live stream. But here's where you turn Encumbrance on. And so we can go to Sela, and we'll just sort of pull it over here. We'll watch her AC and a bunch of other things. So I'm going to add 2 more copies of Half Plate. So here we are, carried bulk 10.3. She gets encumbered at effectively 11, so 10 plus however much light. So I knock that up again. Oh, you see that encumbered as an effect is on. Clumsy is now applied by encumbered, and you see the modifiers like to the AC. It exists, and then we reduce that down. Reflex saves, armor class all go back to where they were. So again, entirely optional if this is what you want to do, but now if you've got someone who's carrying a ridiculous amount of loot, you can now penalize them to your heart's content. So that's where you turn it on, and that one is how it works. One of the other quality of life features that got added in for our Compendium browser, what we noticed is that because of all the renaming and the changing of tables, we were getting the issue that we had packs named the same things. So now all of the Compendium packs that you have, it'll tell you whether it comes from the PF2e system or I've got the Animal Companion pack installed. So here you see all the other packs that you can now browse for, and you can toggle them on and off here. But to make it kind of simple and easy and figure out where it comes from, so the features from the Animal Companion, you now know it's from Animal Companion instead of it just saying features, because that's really, really nebulous. So if you use lots of third-party stuff, this is something that it's a small quality of life thing, but I think that you'll all be very happy that we're now doing that. Next cool thing that we've got to show. One of the things that we've added on. So the Quasit has their change shape ability, and they can become a bat, a centipede, a toad, a wolf. Well, now we can do that. So we haven't mapped any of the images or anything like that, but we can now toggle change shape on and off, and it will create the extra attacks that you get. It will then modify whatever else happens. So I could say, make it a wolf, and you'll see it generates different shapes, attacks now. So you can see that we now have the jaws strike. So that is now built in. So that's a cool little thing if you've got things with change shape. Not everything's totally ready for it, but now you can do it. So we can now generate NPC strikes sort of as we go along, which is a very cool feature to add. In addition, we've got a couple of extra things. Does this swapping the sub option without toggling the checkbox works? I think it should just normally work. It should refresh. Yeah, it just refreshes. You don't have to toggle it off. It just doesn't make sense for it to change shape. I don't know if it can change shape and then go back or can go to another shape. Oh no, it can adopt a new shape. So there you go. Yeah, you just change the toggle then to change what it is. So the toggle does need to be on, obviously, for things to happen, because that's just how it works. So you can change in preparation, or once it's on, you can swap between them. Again, you just have to spend the action, but now Foundry just sort of does that for you. I've created an extra bonus action for this Quasit, my very fiendish fire breath, so I can demo a couple of really cool things that we've got. So the first, we'll target our poor Korakai here with the Quasit. It's going to make a fiendish fire breath attack at Korakai. So it hits. And fiendish fire breath, I don't know. It essentially will also target Korakai's, I don't know, what did I set it up as? I think fortitude with an acrobatics check to try and knock Korakai over. So this will pull the, we'll do an acrobatics comparison by the selected token, which is the Quasit. And it'll be against Korakai's fortitude save. So Korakai failed. Oh no, or no, wait. The Quasit failed. So nothing happens. In any case, this is just a demonstration of a new thing that we can do. So we can now use inline checks specifically to target specific defenses. This is only for inline checks right now. Again, there's a couple of niche uses for it as written, but it's something in the system that we're planning on expanding as we're going forward. If you already have a mechanic like this for doing things like knocking things down based on the target's save, then we can now do that. Kind of cool. You'll also notice that my Quasit, it does persistent fire damage. So we're going to say that it's going to hit both Fumbus and Korakai with its persistent fire damage, and we can apply that. We'll have to throw these guys into an initiative order. So there we go. So there, Fumbus is on fire. Can ignore that. But end of Fumbus's turn, 4 points of fire damage. And so Fumbus can roll their recovery check. And you'll see that it compared against a DC of 10 because Fumbus is a Charhide Goblin. And so the DC is removed, DC 10 instead of DC 15. It again doesn't affect Korakai. So you'll see Korakai's recovery DC. Well, they rolled really well, but you see it was a DC 15. So happy little piece of automation that we've added into the system. We also have the curses. Curses now have the labels. We've added on a whole bunch of the extra features, so you can see that the emanation increases. Right now, it doesn't apply the other effects. It's something that, again, this is work in progress, but so the -2 penalty on ranged attacks by you or for you doesn't apply. However, the curses now step up and step down the way that you would expect. Right now, I'm stuck at moderate. I can only do minor or moderate, because to go higher than that, you need to be level 11. So if I level Korakai all the way up to level 20, I can now access Korakai's major and extreme curses. We can then also look at the ancestor curse. So this one's a cool one. We'll have to add these guys to combat. Roll for initiative, and we'll begin our encounter. So when we start the encounter, our ancestor oracle here rolls for ancestral influence. I rolled a 4, so it's my choice. So I can go to the strike tab, and I can say, well, I'm going to mostly attack this round, so I'm going to leave it as a marshal. So I target the Quasit. I want to make sure that I can find it, so I'll do a quick perception check. So nominally that would succeed, but I need to make a flat check. So I can roll my flat check. Oh, I failed, so my perception check didn't work. However, when I roll my strike, you can see I get my +1 bonus from my Curse of Ancestral Meddling. Rolled a 31, hooray. And no flat check necessarily needed. We can then advance our rounds, and it'll re-roll. So in this case, it rolls a 3, which is spellcasting. You'll notice that the drop-down is now locked out. You can see my bonus to my attack is gone, so I try and attack. The Curse of Ancestral Meddling's gone, and now I have to roll a flat check. Wow, 3 nat 20s in a row. Same with the perception check. No bonus. Have to roll a flat check. And so it fails. And so that'll keep going. Every round it'll sort of reset. It'll make the roll for you. And now I'm back to the marshal. Again, I can't change the drop down, but marshal is there. So those were a lot of the big changes that we brought into this version of the system. Other than that, updates that we have for you, like I mentioned, Rage of Elements, the data entry is almost done. All of the NPCs for GenCon are pretty much done and in the system. So for anyone who is running at GenCon, we've got those. I'm going to do my best to make an installable world similar to what Sigil does for $4.99. So pay attention to that. Hopefully a little bit later this week, I can get that out to GMs in preparation for GenCon. Otherwise, Sky King's Tomb, it is releasing soon. It's the first book is being done by Sigil as a module. All of Sky King's Tomb has been commissioned, so expect those to come out on release day. It looks like an amazing adventure path if you want to play dwarves. I'm super excited for it. And Pathfinder Society Season 5. It's going to come in a half pack and a full season pack. It'll be an asset pack, so as similar as the one before, you'll buy the maps and the tokens. It'll have the challenge point scaling, so it'll just pull all the actors in for you, and you'll either get to buy half a season or the full season, so sort of 2 options there. You'll still need to buy the adventure as well, but if you're a subscriber or you're a venture officer, you already get those. That's kind of why I think Paizo did it this way. So if you liked what we had for Season 4, big thing for Season 5, we're sort of committed to do the whole thing. Other than that, we have a couple cool things that are coming up from third parties. First, today, I think, Battle Zoo Indigo Islands Kickstarter went live. If you back it now for the Kickstarter, you get the Foundry module for $10 instead of $30, so 66% off. Very, very cool. And yeah, so I think that Kickstarter started today. If somebody happens to have the link, feel free to throw it in the chat. And the other one that came out 2 weeks ago, Magus Plus from Team Plus came out. I think on day 1, it smashed their sales records on its first day. And they've just released, I want to say yesterday, Firebrands Plus. So I think this is their first foray into doing one of the Lost Omens lines as a plus book. Adds a whole bunch of cool new factions that you can have for your Firebrands kind of campaign. I was reading through them all myself, and I'm very excited for the next time I go on water, because I'm definitely going to steal a lot of ideas from these and use these different Firebrands crews for myself. So those are a couple of the cool third-party commercial things that have come up over the past couple of weeks since I did my last release stream. So there you go. Those are all the big changes that we have in the system. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a couple of minutes and try and answer them. So now is the time. Otherwise, hold your peace. Lots of other cool stuff coming in the next couple of releases. I don't really want to spoil anything at this point. Big thing coming up. The next one's going to be a pretty data entry heavy release. We might have a couple of changes, but nothing super huge. So about Afflictions, yes, it's still coming. Afflictions are delayed a little bit because it's being done by Soup. Soup's working on another project that's slightly higher priority that I'm, fingers crossed, going to talk about in the next release stream. I don't want to tease it too much in case it doesn't come out, but it's very, very cool. I think that the plan is to work on Afflictions after that one, so it should still be in this release series, just not right now. Kingmaker, that's being done by Foundry. They've said by the end of this quarter, they're planning on coming out. Again, Soup is working with that, so his priority project is kind of tied into the Kingmaker work. Anyone who wants to go dig through the repository can see sort of where that's coming from and what it's going to be. It's going to be very useful for that campaign in particular. I think the plan is still, once Kingmaker releases, I will be GMing it as a live stream with some of the staff from Paizo. So if you want to see how I GM, it'll also feed in to complement these sort of videos where I'll talk through some of the features in Foundry and how they work. It was sort of a request. And otherwise, it's a cool group of people. We've done some practice play sessions. I think it'll be a fun live stream. I've never tried to live stream like a series of games, so as long as you don't expect me to be Matt Mercer, then I think it'll be a good time. Will you be able to watch the video on demand? Yes, so it'll be available live on Twitch for like a week or something, but I'm pretty good about downloading it as soon as it's wrapped, re-rendering it, cutting out some of the sort of lead-in intro where it's just sort of the, hey, the stream's coming on in the next 10 minutes part, and then posting it to YouTube. So expect it sometime this afternoon. Any stuff that you can tell us about runes? They work right now. We're not planning on pushing out the rune update anytime soon. Hopefully we'll be updating some of the rune stuff. The older ones, we sort of got sick of some of the requests. So all the ones from Treasure Vault should be in as droppable and selectable. Some of them are interactive and they work and they do things. It's not the final version that we want for runes, but it's enough of a holdover for now. Repeat the part about seasons. So for Pathfinder Society, Season 5 has been committed to. Starting at GenCon, it will release. It'll sort of be like an episodic release. You'll either buy a half-season pack, so the first half of the season. I don't know how many scenarios they're planning for next season, but I guess probably 8 or 10 in the first half, 8 or 10 in the second. Not sure. Paizo hasn't really said, but there'll be a half-season pack, a full-season pack. And when you buy it, again, it's the asset pack like we had for 4.13 and 4.14. You'll get the maps, you'll get the token art. It'll all map to actors. It'll all drop onto the scenes. They'll all be labeled for you. You can select which one you want. You can do the challenge point increment, and it should drop those actors on for you. That's what you'll get. You'll still need to have the PDF to be able to actually run it, because none of that information will be built in. Again, that's just sort of how Paizo's model is. I'm glad that you've enjoyed, and it's been a pretty simple transition for you moving over to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I think that we're all pretty proud. I will mention, Bailey Wiki did an interview with me. We recorded it yesterday. I demoed a couple of things that will come out on the 3rd, including the Kineticist. So if you want a cool interview, I think it's a lot of me talking. Bailey was very, very good about letting me sort of speak and lump a lot of praise onto my team and certain people at Paizo who've really done an amazing job, shown a lot of really, really strong leadership. We've seen a lot of Paizo's future plans, but I feel like what was lost in the message is the employees themselves that really go out of their way, especially to make VTT stuff on Foundry a success. I can never speak enough about Andrew Wright. There was a lot of hesitation on Paizo's side. I don't know that they wanted to make a commercial bet on Foundry as a VTT, changing the model from how other VTTs work. I feel like they thought it was a pretty big risk, but Andrew kept pushing for it. And I think it's paid off. A lot of commercial success for Paizo because of Foundry is due in large part to his efforts. And it was really not until January. So all of those releases up until January for over a half year, every single one of them, they kind of had to fight for to make happen. And now it's no longer a question. 6 months of data was enough to demonstrate how strongly this community cares and how much they're willing to sort of back Foundry with their wallets. I think Foundry is incredibly pleased and is continuing to make product. Realistically, they hired on Quora almost to work exclusively on Pathfinder 2nd Edition stuff. We've already have a guarantee for all of Sky King's Tomb, and I think now that they're either negotiating for the seasons, which will be the 4-part that will lead us up to number 200 for the Adventure Path series. So it looks like the future on Foundry for commercial product is pretty bright. Yeah, thank you, Andrew, indeed. I feel like that part, like I said, was missing from this is what's happened in the past year, because the employees that did the work should really be called out, in my opinion. Oh, no, Cora, as in our community manager, Cora. I think she even ran the beginner box for the Foundry staff. Yeah, and so with that, if we don't have any more questions to be answered on the stream, I think I am going to happily sign off. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing what we've done since the latest version of Foundry has come out. V11 wasn't as big a hiccup, but it has added a couple more tools that we're excited to play with. And with the release of Crucible as well, we've sort of learned some tips and tricks from what Atropos has done. We're very excited to steal more of his ideas and bring it in. Otherwise, if you do have future questions, feel free to hop on the Discord and ask. We don't have full plans. We don't know exactly how the remaster is going to go. We have to see how things fall out. But as remaster items start coming in different adventures, adventure paths, Pathfinder Society, we will start integrating it more and more into the system as we're kind of guaranteed what's going on. So like I said at the start, if you do not want remaster content, if you want things to stay static, then this is the point where you get off. Documentation on new codes for rule elements, when we get to it, unfortunately, right now is really, really heavy for data entry. It's brand new. We're still working out some of the kinks in those particular rule elements. But I will say soon with our typical trademark, definitely waiting, not likely until after Gen Con's done. There is just way too much work that's going on to try and make sure that the adventure path, all of the extra stuff, because we have to do the special and a whole bunch of the other Pathfinder Society stuff coming online, and trying to get Rage of Elements and the Kineticist working as much as we can is just a little bit more important than documenting the new rule elements. That being said, feel free to pull down the system. 5.2.2 will have several examples of how the new rule element is used, and you can sort of start working from that point. And I think we're all kind of excited for the Kineticist. Anyways, I wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and hopefully we'll get to chat before Gen Con. We'll see. I don't know how many features we'll add before then. I might not run a stream if I don't have to, especially because I'm running a bunch of games at Gen Con. Anyone who wants to play with me, I think there's still a couple of open tickets for the repeatable game that I'm playing. My 412 and my special, I think, are all sold out, but I've got 2 versions of A Most Wondrous Exchange, which was the sort of sequel adventure to the start of season 4 with Big Lock, and I was very excited to be able to run that. It's kind of a fun one, so if you haven't played it and want to, and you've got a decently high level character or want to run a level 5 pre-gen, I think it's $4. Paizo doesn't take any of the money. It's 100% going to Gen Con, and I definitely don't take any money because I don't run that way. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah. If what I will say is tomorrow is my actual birthday, so if you want to send a present to me in the system, feel free. I'll shout out our extra life. We'll probably get seriously into looking for the community to step up again and donate, try and break the $10,000 mark that we set last year, this year. we'll try and get ourselves ready for game day. No idea what I'm going to do yet. It's a little bit further in the future. Haven't thought about it, but there you go. If you want to send a birthday present to a bunch of children's hospitals, feel free to do it in the name of the system for me. With that, again, wonderful weekend. Always a pleasure to interact with everybody. And if you have any other questions, want to know how things are going, do feel free to reach out on the Discord. With that, bye for now.